One of the recent topics in the news lately is dental x-rays and their link with certain cancers. So we're going to talk about it before we go today with local dentist Dr. Kendall Jones. Dr. Jones, thank you for being with me this morning.
Thank you for having me, Jenna.
All right, before we get into the dental x-rays, I just want to know a little bit about you, Dr. Jones. What brought you here to Key West?
Well, what brought us all? The warm weather, right? I grew up in Asheville, North Carolina, in the Appalachian Mountains. And if I was going to leave the mountains, it would be for the beach. And although there's not a whole lot of beach around Key West, I love the weather and fishing, and that's in the relaxed lifestyle.
Okay. Well, we are glad that you're here.
Thank you.
And now, what practice do you work for, Dr. Jones?
I work as an associate with Dr. Goldner at Paradise Dental, 1460 Kennedy Drive. And I've been with him for, I'd say about over a year now, and just a wonderful experience. Love working with him, love working with everybody at that practice, and enjoying my time.
And you guys obviously always are accepting new patients, right?
Yes, always accepting new patients.
Okay. Well, let's get into dental x-rays, Dr. Jones, and their link with certain cancers. Tell us about this.
Well, it's one of the hot topics in the news lately is dental x-rays and their links to, I believe the main one is meningioma, which is kind of a cancerous tumor of the meninges. It's a part of the brain. And this is something which they did a study in which they asked people to tell them how many dental x-rays they'd had in their lifetime. So, and that's kind of, and they linked that because most of the people who had said they had a lot of dental x-rays ended up having this kind of cancer. And, you know, it's kind of it's not a great study. I think the participants were something like 20 to 74 or 84 years old. And you're a young person, so for instance, if I asked you, how many bite wings have you had? How many periapicals? How many pantografts? Those specific things. It'd probably be hard for you to say, well, I've had this many on this date, this many on that date. And that's kind of how they came up with this data, which is not to say that it's not important to limit the amount of radiation exposure that you put into your body, whether it be dental radiation or any other kind of medical procedure. But just to put it in small perspective, we receive, I think they used to do it in rems, millirems, now they do it in millisieverts, but it's a annotation for measuring radiation dosage. And there's about, it's like 360 you get annually, just in the ambient atmosphere, just from everything from, if you live in a brick house, you get a little more radiation because of the radioactive materials in the masonry, and you're out in the sun more, all sorts of things. And dental x-rays are just such a tiny portion of radiation, not to be overlooked and not to be not concerned with, you know. But they're so small. Most countries now have a radiation card that you go around with to each doctor and this and that. They keep track of how much radiation exposure you've had. However, in all those countries, they don't use dental x-rays. They don't even keep track of dental x-rays because it's such a small amount of radiation. But there are guidelines that the ADA, the Florida Department of Health, gives me as a dentist and medical doctors for their radiation procedures. And that's and we follow those guidelines. So.
Now, what would be the alternative to dental x-rays? Is there an alternative?
There's not really. You look as closely as you can. You can imagine that it's a two-dimensional rendering of a three-dimensional object, so it's hard to, you can't, this is for interproximal caries or cavities in between your teeth. So there's really no other way to do that. But people who don't have many cavities often don't get them. And people who get a lot of cavities get them more, and so the amount of radiographs taken is usually concomitant with that.
So it's just important to have a good diet so you don't get those cavities, right?
That's right, exactly.
All right, well, we'll have you back on again to talk more with us, and thank you for being on this morning.
Thank you so much, Jenna.
All right, everybody, that's going to do it for us today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll be back tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. and again at 8:30. Take care, everyone.